In this series of lectures, we are going to talk about arrhythmias. First, we are going to start with disorders of impulse. What is arrhythmia? Arrhythmia, usually, we say that when we do not have a normal cardiac rhythm. What is the normal cardiac rhythm? It's originating from the SA node. So that's called normal sinus rhythm. Anything else is called arrhythmia. Arrhythmia can be referred to a disturbance in the rate, the regularity, or the site of the origin or the conduction of the cardiac electrical impulse. What is the normal sinus rhythm? First of all, we have to have a sinus P wave, a sinus originated P wave. How do we know that the P is originated from the sinus? Because the sinus node is located the right side in the atrium and the depolarization is spread it toward the left side. This is why we do have the depolarization wave of the atrium that pointing from right to the left. This is why in lead number 2 we do have a positive P wave, why in AVR we do have a negative P wave. And the shape of this P wave should be similar within a lead. Every P wave has to be followed by a QRS complex with a normal PR interval. And every R wave should be preceded with a P wave. The PP interval are constant, similarly to the RR intervals. The heart rate has to be in a normal range. The normal range is ranging from 60 beats per minute to 100 beats per minute. Arrhythmia, as we said, it can be due to the rate abnormalities or irregularities or the site of the original combustion. Arrhythmia can be a single aberrant beat or even prolonged pause between beats or a sustained rhythm disturbance that can persist for the lifetime of the patient. Make a note, not every arrhythmia is abnormal or dangerous. For example, the low heart rate in athletes is normal and very common. What can be the symptoms of arrhythmia? Mostly we have no sign, so usually is unnoticed. Palpitation that can be sustained or regular or irregularly occurring can be affecting the whole body, such as in the face of the fatigue, dizziness, light headaches, disorientation, syncopes, or the composition of existing heart failure, for example, or more dangerously, circulatory collapse, or even sudden death. What can cause arrhythmia? Most commonly, the sympathetic stimulation. That can be, for example, nervousness, endocrine disorders, or central heart failure or cardiac heart failure, hypoxia, pulmonary disorders, irritability due to inflammation of the heart muscle, drugs, even anti-arrhythmic drug paradoxically can cause arrhythmia. Electrolyte disturbance such as potassium, calcium or magnesium, stretching of the muscle in case of hypertrophy or for example due to cardiac heart failure or some other valvular disorders as well. Arrhythmia, as we said, can be due to impulse formation abnormality, that beat can come earlier or later, or not originated from a normal pace, not from the sinus. Or even when we do have a normally forming impulse, but somehow this impulse is not propagating, this is why we could have a conduction disturbance. And again, that can be manifested as arrhythmia. When we are talking about the impulse formation abnormalities, we can talk about such as the active arrhythmia, when the heart rate be faster because somehow the rhythm is disturbed, or passive arrhythmia when somehow doesn't manifest itself a bit and the lower center is going to beat, and that makes it slower the heart rate. Looking at the active arrhythmia, the simplest active arrhythmia when the beat comes earlier, so the normal RR or PP interval be shorter and this shorter interval followed with a longer interval. So this early coming beat that called premature beat or extrasystole. If we do have more than three sequentially, that's called tachycardia. So the first distance that is called a coupling interval followed by a compensatory pause. When we talk about a later coming beat is due to some kind of abnormality when a normal beat could not come in time, we do have a lower escape center that is going to fire, and this beat called escape beat. If we do have more than three beats in a row, that's called escape rhythm. By looking at the type of premature beats, we can have, as you see here, an early coming beat that followed the compensatory pause, but this pause could not compensate fully the early coming beat, so that is called undercompensated premature beat when the distance of the first and the coupling time and the compensatory pause is not as long as a twice regular cycle. The next one, when the compensation compensated this early coming beat, so the average rate didn't change, that's called compensated. Usually every supraventricular beat is undercompensated, while ventricular premature beats are compensated. It could happen when the compensatory pause makes the heart rate slower. This is called overcompensated premature beat. This compensation is going to depend on the location of the impulse formation or the quality or the function of the heart. There is another type of premature beat, but the premature beat exactly lies in the middle of this normal RR interval or PP interval, and that called interpolated premature beat, when the coupling time and the compensatory time is equal and exactly gives a normal cycle time. If we do have more premature beat sequentially, that we called, if it's coming regularly, that is called algorithm. For example, if we do have an early coming beat in every second time, so every second beat be a premature beat, that's called bigemini. As you see here, every second beat is a premature, so it comes earlier, followed by a compensatory pause. If it comes every third, that is called trigemini. If it comes in every fourth one, that's called quadrigemini. It could happen that this premature beat comes after each other, subsequently. For example, here we do have two fast coming beats, this called couplets, or we can have three that called triplets or salves or salvos. If we have more than three, that's called tachycardia. When it's originated from ventricle, that's ventricular tachycardia. When it's originated from the supraventricular area, that's called supraventricular tachycardia. Types of tachycardias. When we talk about ventricular tachycardias, that can be sustained, it meaning that the tachycardic period lasts longer than 30 seconds, or non-sustained, that is ended within 30 seconds. Very importantly, a ventricular tachycardia that continuously increases the rate can be very dangerous and can be transferred from paroxysmal to flutter and to fibrillation. Supraventricular tachycardias can be again paroxysmal, that starts and ends suddenly, or non-paroxysmal, that gradually accelerated and slowing down. Here you can see a supraventricular tachycardia that ended suddenly.